Go. Hey everyone, what's up, guys? I'm here with Fresher Luke. What's up, my boy?
Hey Trish, how's it going?
we were like in the middle of talking before the
I was
TV
about to
started.
go off. Now it's all like, hey everyone.
Yeah, right. So, Fresher has got us a beautiful comic here, Forsaken Gods.
Yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about this?
Of course.
Putting you on the spot right away.
I know it's fine. Please do. Dang, where should I start, Trish? What do you want to know about Forsaken Gods? When you look at this, you're like, what is this all about? And I'm right there, and you turn to me and say, Luke, what is this all about?
Well, I guess the biggest thing that would catch most people's eye is this cool-looking Skull Knight you got here. Why don't you tell us about him?
All right. Well, I guess I got to give sort of the context of Skull Knight and where he sits in this grand scheme of things of this world. So Forsaken Gods is a 60-page book that I'm doing on Indiegogo. It's set in this fantasy world called Epic Earth, and it's a world filled with monsters and dragons and magic and all that cool fantasy stuff. And in this fantasy world, there was this great war amongst the gods, and it caused all the magic in the world to be populated within it. And so anyway, centuries later, this book starts out focusing on one of the main characters, this female archaeologist named Samara. And she goes into all these dungeons where all these weapons that the gods use for the war are stored. And she's trying to figure out what caused the war, what happened during the war, and why it was concluded. Because obviously once the war was done, the remaining gods who hadn't been killed, they all shuffled off back to their respective domains, and humans were left on the earth to deal with the ramifications of what had happened like centuries after, for like hundreds of years. And so in a way, she's kind of trying to figure out the origins of why they're having to deal with all these problems and what the possible solutions would be for that. And so she goes into one of these dungeons. She sets, she's trips a trap, for lack of a better term. I don't know how it sets a trap. She doesn't set a trap. She springs a trap that is sort of one of the defenses of one of these dungeons, and her whole party gets killed. And so she manages to escape, and she's sort of, she gets lost in this dungeon because it's kind of a labyrinth. And she comes face to face with our boy here, Skull Knight, and that's where the whole adventure begins, because she has awoken him, and because she has done that, he is duty bound to follow her around and do as she commands. And she doesn't really understand that at first, because Skull Knight, he can't talk, he can only scream, so he can't really communicate. And so she's kind of running from him, and he's kind of running after her because, that's what he has to do. Like, he has to follow her everywhere. And hilarity ensues, and they solve many crimes. How about that? No.
That's a pretty funny concept.
I'm ad-libbing that last bit, but you get what I mean. So she's kind of stuck with this large hulking monstrosity, and she's got to figure out like what she's going to do with him and still lead a normal life.
Well, that's pretty fun. So you get to like basically let him give his dialogue through like expressions and screeching.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like one of the key aspects of the narrative of this book is that I've made Samara an archaeologist, and archaeologists are sort of, I guess, forensic historians. They're kind of like solving crimes from centuries ago. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wanted to make that as a means for the audience to sort of tag along with Samara as she kind of as they discover things along with her. And so part of her trying to figure out what caused the war is also part of her trying to figure out who and what Skull Knight is, and how he became to be what he was, and what his role was in the war. And so there's kind of this huge mystery that she has to solve amongst all the other amazing epic action that is going to go on in the books, as Skull Knight basically destroys everything, but not indiscriminately. Like, there are going to be like the old gods have, when they find out that Skull Knight is reawoken, they're going to start sending things after him to try and destroy him because they see him as a threat to their remaining power. And so in a way, she's kind of trying to solve this mystery and stay alive at the same time. Well, Skull Knight's trying to keep her alive. And Samara has like a relative. She's got like an older brother who runs this museum that's been in her family for ages. And she has an aging grandmother. And so in a way, like Skull Knight sort of being bound to her kind of impacts them as well. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
A little adventure to solve the mysteries of the past.
Yeah. So what else? What else do you want to know? Here are some of the pages.
yeah, here are some of the pages, guys. I noticed that, with dungeon crawlers and now with this, I kind of wonder if you have a soft spot for fantasy.
Sure. Well, the interesting little tidbit about dungeon crawlers and this is that actually, well, I guess it was going to be Quest and Less, right? Remember that campaign?
Right, yes.
I came on here to try and get that promoted. Well, the thing about those two worlds is, yes, I do have a soft spot for fantasy. Like, I've loved like things like the Arthurian legends with Merlin and King Arthur and Excalibur and all that other stuff ever since I was a little kid.
Classics.
Huh?
I said classics.
Classics, right?
Right.
And it's kind of I guess it's kind of part of this storytelling journey I'm going on. I'm sounding so pretentious right now. Just that, like stories like King Arthur and all that, they were all in some capacity, they were all originated from something real or some real person that did something in the past and their exploits. And sort of through the ages, that story got retold and retold, and just like a game of telephone or dubbing a cassette tape over and over again, the story kind of warped and changed and eventually became legend, right?
Right, evolves over time.
Yeah, it evolves over time, and it gets boiled down to sort of its base elements, and history is kind of stories that kind of have always been humans' way of sort of chronicling history ever since we first invented fire, and then we sat around the fire and we were trying to figure out what was going on around us in the natural world. And so we'd make up stories like, the gods, lift the sun up in the sky every day and then they set it back down at night. And you know what I'm talking about, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And so in a way, I kind of, the stories and history are sort of a big part of who we are as a species. It's how we sort of pass down knowledge through the generations. And that goes for the same with stories like King Arthur and Lord of the Rings is probably a more recent example where J.R.R. Tolkien, Lord of the Rings is like the granddaddy of all fantasy stories.
Right.
You could argue like it was the reason why Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop game, was first conceived in the first place. It was because of Lord of the Rings, and J.R.R. Tolkien was like, he was sourcing a lot of folklore and history as well when he was coming up with characters like Gandalf and Frodo and all these other guys. And so I kind of wanted to, I guess, tap into that and sort of do my own version of it, because not only do these stories, not only are they sort of part of our history, they're by default they're also part of our culture, and it's through that culture that we pass down knowledge, and a lot of that knowledge is like how to live a good life, how to be considerate of others, what the right thing is to do, and I guess superheroes are probably the most recent modern version of that. Characters like Superman, you could argue, is sort of an analogy for Hercules, or even some have said that even Jesus Christ is supposed to be like an offshoot of, say, the sun god Ra, right? So because obviously Superman, he gets a lot of his strength from
Right.
the Earth's
Flies
yellow
into
sun.
the sun.
So I wanted to I really wanted to sort of do my own version of that, sort of stemming from that kind of stuff, because so some of the plot stories that I have in mind for sort of like Skull Knight's arc and sort of Samara's arc is Skull Knight has like a very tragic history, and which led to him being to what he is today, or as we see him now, and that's going to be like the huge reveal towards the end of the story. But this issue, the one that I'm crowdfunding right now, this is issue 1. This is how Samara and Skull Knight first meet. And but yeah, I have like huge plans for it, and just a lot of ideas that I've had bouncing around in my head that I've just been wanting to try and get down onto paper.
That's awesome, man.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. What did we start off with? Oh yeah, if you had a thing for fantasy.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I did have a thing for fantasy, and I still do have a thing for fantasy. I mean, I've got a thing for a lot of. I guess even saying that, it's like I've got a lot of love for other genres as well. Like obviously, like westerns, right? That's why I did Bikini Cowboy.
Oh yeah, it's been a while since we've seen any western stuff.
I know, but I think I was reading an article the other day where they said the American gangster movie is officially dead. And I was like, well, that's really sad, because American gangster movies are kind of they're kind of what I just talked about. It's sort of like it's part of America's culture. It's part of their history. It's sort of there was this time in like the 1940s and 50s where there was organized crime, and everyone's like wearing these stylish suits with the Tommy guns and stuff like that. And that was sort of an offshoot from the frontier days of the Wild West, right? Like
right.
It's just like almost like a more modernized version of the Wild West. It's sort of like this I don't know, this cavalier kind of way of dealing with authority and the law, and sort of but not saying that I'm not endorsing organized crime, though.
Just to be clear, guys.
Yeah, just to be clear, like if you want to sell
any gangs, please.
Don't join gangs. Don't buy any Tommy guns, and don't wear any fedoras. So.
Yeah.
So what else?
I mean, I definitely love fantasy myself, and
really?
I think your art looks spanking, of course.
Thank you.
Especially the colored pages. Do you know what the printing is going to be like for this?
The printing?
Yeah, like what style? Pages glossy, matte, or?
I figured it'll be the best printing that I can afford to get. That's a non-answer.
Right.
I'm not sure. If this campaign gets fulfilled, this will be my first fulfilled campaign, so I'm kind of figuring out as I go along. I have done printing before, obviously. Once again, Bikini Cowboy, like I self-printed that. So I definitely want it to be of considerably good quality, but at the same time, like, the book is 60 pages and it's only for $15. So, I mean, it's not going to be on newsprint, if that's what you're asking.
Not a fan of newsprint?
No, I'm really not. Just because I know, like, I want this book to last. You know what I mean? I don't want it to because newsprint, like, the ink rubs off on your fingers, and it's just a huge mess. And I definitely don't want to do that.
I'm not a huge fan of having my own books printed on newsprint either. For the same reasons. Like, I don't want the art to be all smeared or the pages to rip very easily.
Yeah, no, I get it. I definitely want it to be something that you can put on your bookshelf or, keep forever. Like, I want it to stand the test of time. But I can show you some art that I've been working on if you want to see that real quick, as we are talking about sort of the artwork, right? Right.
Yeah, sure. Do you share your screen? Or?
I'm trying to do that. There we go.
Let's take a look at what you got here.
So this is a page I just did recently. This is I think this is the second stage, just after thumbs.
Damn, that looks pretty cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So this is before I take it to final inks and color. This is sort of the layout stage. I did go a little bit crazy with the detail, but I wanted to be absolutely sure that I got every little bit right.
Right.
And so yeah, and so this is sort of towards the beginning of the book when Samara and her crew first enter the dungeon. Yeah, I kind of wanted to give this sort of dilapidated sort of how to say it, like this larger than life kind of feel that I would imagine if I were living in a fantasy world, it would be sort of this crazy cool place that I just discovered. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I think in, what was it, like Legend of Zelda, the old Zelda games, at least Ocarina of Time, like they really try to give you that sense of sort of like you're discovering the secret place, you know, and that nobody else has been here for ages, and you're the first person in a long time to have been here. So
that's definitely one of my favorite parts of some video games is just exploring the maps.
Yeah, right. So I definitely wanted to give like a sense of that, as well as because I don't know about you, but when I was a young kid, I was like crazy about finding maps and making treasure maps, and like soaking them in tea and then burning the edges, and and then complaining when I burned the whole thing by accident after I just drawn it. So,
you try to stomp the fire out, and it's just a big mess.
Makes it worse. So yeah, so there's that page. Hold on, hang on, wait, where is it? Oh, there we go. And what are some other things? And so, where's the process? Oh, there it is. So yeah, just process-wise, when I start sort of the book, like I kind of do it as thumbs like this, and this is like the first page. And I kind of go through all these stages where I'm essentially redrawing everything. And so this is like the layout stage, and that's sort of the similar of the page I just showed before, that double page spread. And this is where I put all the dialogue and stuff. And then this is like the inking phase where I do like final lines. And then I do like a values pass. So this is more like a lighting pass, I guess. And then finally I do like a color pass, which is the final version of it. And that's sort of my process of doing things, just so everyone knows that I'm not phoning this in. Like, I take great care in trying to make some really amazing artwork, and I definitely want to give you value for money. So yeah, and that is that.
Well, it definitely looks awesome.
Thank you. What else? I've been working on the tarot card. I don't have anything to show for that yet. Damn it.
You're doing tarot cards?
Yeah, so one of the tiers is that oh yeah, thanks for bringing that back up. So the physical tier, the $15 physical tier.
Oh, the trading cards.
Yeah, so it says trading card, but it's sort of like a tarot card. But it's sort of like a hybrid. So like on the front it'll be like a tarot card, but on the back it'll be like a typical trading card description, so to say, just to try keep into the theme of sort of the world that this whole thing is set in.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and of course you get digital and the physical book, and you get stickers. What else? For the digital tier, it's like $5, and I didn't put it in the description, but not only do you get the physical book, which is going to be identical. Sorry, the digital book, which is going to be identical to the physical book, but it's also going to have a couple of what do you call them? Wallpapers for your computer as well.
Oh, desktop wallpapers.
Yeah, and actually, you can actually see one of the desktop wallpapers. It's actually on the project page, like at the top. Like that one, yeah.
Well, this one looks awesome.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm just trying to pack in as much stuff. Sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I always feel like, I guess, somewhat guilty when I ask people for money online. So
I
I want to
know.
make sure that they get a lot for what they're paying, you know?
Sure. Which I guess is probably why I've only got 70 backers. But it is early days, so
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure that'll pick up later.
definitely still early. So you got plenty of time.
Plenty of time to sit in the fetal position and rock back and forth.
Hopefully, I'm actually hoping that you'll get past 2,200.
Sure, I would like that as well. Because I mean that's as low as I could get it.
Work you're going to be putting in.
Huh?
I said, considering how much work you're going to be putting in, it's like
Well, yeah,
just you on this, right?
pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I'd like to get other people to help me do this just to make my life easier, but I can't afford to do that right now. So it's all me.
Mm. Right. But yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Does anyone in the chat have questions?
Oh man, chat is usually either really chaotic or really quiet. You have like a little logo here where the
no, that's just a black square, dude.
Are you gonna put something there?
I did, but I couldn't find it. I wanted to put something there, but I was like, I just got to get this made.
Right.
It's gonna be like Fresher Comics or something. I don't know, something silly.
Yeah, like draw your little skull logo or something.
Something like that. Yeah, and so that's my plan. That's my big dream of wanting to get this made. Does my dream sound good to people? With great Skull Knight comes great responsibility. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I think people in the chat are enjoying your idea.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. One thing I have to say, unfortunately, I looked into the whole international backing thing because I had some Canadian fans reach out to me saying, do like a Canadian tier. And I found out like getting like this book, the physical book, shipped out to them would be like $22 or something, which is more than the actual price of the book.
Oh my gosh, international shipping is so bad.
Yeah, someone has just asked. You should click on Just Right because he asked the question.
Just right?
Yeah. Do you plan to ship internationally?
Oh, this guy.
Yeah, so that's the answer to that question. I feel really bad about that because I know there are some. I know you've got international fans.
Oh yeah, they were pretty upset that Ogre wasn't shipping out internationally.
I know, and I mean, I would like to expand the shipping. It's just right now this is my first campaign, and this is the one that I'm kind of making all my mistakes and sort of learning as I go, as I said earlier.
Right, we all got to make steps to a higher point. Not everyone just comes out and they're suddenly Ethan Fanskyver or somebody who like will get that.
We all can't win the lottery, Trish. the comics lottery, as I like to call it. But you're right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, eventually I do want to expand it out, probably in a future campaign. And if that's the case, like if this campaign is successful and I get it out and everyone likes it, and it's something viable, then I definitely want to do like a follow-up campaign for Forsaken Gods, like issue 2, and sort of expand that sort of shipping sphere. And if that's the case, then I'll probably add like another tier where you can, if you missed out on the physical tier for this issue, you'll definitely get it. It'll be available to you in the next campaign as a separate tier if you want.
Right. That's also good for people who are just jumping on.
Yeah.
To 363. Yes, there is a digital version available on the campaign that you can get.
So I should point this out. So the physical version is 50 pages of story, 5 pages of behind the scenes, like concept and sketches and stuff like that, and 5 pages of I guess pinups from guest artists. And that is also applicable to the digital version of the book as well. So if you get the digital book, you're going to get all that plus you're gonna get a wallpaper, at least one wallpaper. I can guarantee you at least one wallpaper.
Right.
But I'm gonna try and get you at least 2 wallpapers that you will really enjoy. And one of those wallpapers is already right there that we saw earlier on the campaign page. So you know what you're getting. It's going to look awesome. It's going to look epic. People are going to walk by your computer and say, "Whoa, what is that?" I think that's probably to ratio, like screen ratio. I'm pretty sure it is. And yeah, so you're getting a lot for $5. $5 digital tier is also for some people. I know I have, I'm pretty sure I've got some younger audience members who might not have a whole lot of disposable income or access to disposable income. So I kind of did the $5 digital tier as sort of an option for them where, if they want to, they can still sort of read a great book and sort of contribute to my slush fund. But
because at least you can afford like $5.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I was young once, and it was hard to sort of, you're kind of in this tight place because technically you can't really get a job if you're really young, and it's only when you're like 16 you get like a summer job, and it doesn't really pay very much. So I imagine that's true in America, right? Like you work at McDonald's and just make some chump change and work your butt off.
Basically.
Yeah, so so that's there for them, and also I understand that we are living in trying times right now, and some people have they got tight budgets, and that $5 digital tier is for them as well. So,
man, we got DJ Robotnik asking a question: who played Jerry on Seinfeld?
Oh, I got no idea. Who was it?
That's a really tough one.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Jerry Seinfeld on that.
If only there was some kind of invention where you could go online and look it up. Right?
If only there was some kind of clue in the title.
Yeah. I guess we'll never know.
Good stuff from the chat as usual.
Yeah. You got the best followers, I think.
Oh, do I?
Pretty cool people.
You hear that, guys? Fresher likes you.
So yeah, what else, Trish? What else? Is there anything else I'm missing? Is there anything you want to know? Is there anything the chat wants to know?
Definitely gone over a bunch of stuff. What will you have to say about the main character? What you like personality-wise?
Yeah, so Samara is she's a mixed bag, she's her parents are sort of immigrants from this other part of sort of this fantasy world, and they're really into they moved to like this European style city called El Bazaar, and so her parents were really into that stuff, sort of that culture, because originally her parents are from like this, I guess, desert kind of fantasy society, and they kind of fled because they were also archaeologists, and they sort of came to this. They immigrated to El Bazaar as sort of a means to pursue their passions, and they opened up that museum. And so her parents have since died, and so Samara, in a way, is kind of trying to follow in her parents' footsteps. And that actual that cloak that she's wearing, that was actually her dad's. And so she kind of wears that as sort of I guess, as sort of commemorative to him. It's like, in a way, it's sort of her security blanket, but it's like her way of remembering who her parents were and trying to carry on their work. And so she's kind of got this, this rebellious attitude as well, because, her brother is a bit more, I guess, by the book and orderly. And so while she's kind of out going to these dungeons and getting herself in danger, he's kind of at home, like trying to make sure that the museum isn't closed down and that it's, he's keeping everything running, and also helping to take care of like the ailing grandmother. And so in a way, like she's kind of got some character growth to go through, because when we first meet her, she's kind of very stubborn, and she's also a bit bossy, like the two goons that you saw earlier. She's kind of like not treating them very well. I mean, granted, they're like, they're like these two like thugs that she just got for cheap coin, and that kind of lands her in trouble as well. Like her sort of like her personality trait of like leaping before you look, sort of lands her into a lot of hot water, which is sort of the start of the book. Like that's sort of what caused her whole team to get killed in the first place, because she didn't really dot her I's or cross her T's or do enough thorough research. And in a way, it's not really her fault, because this dungeon in particular has been purposefully kept off the books, so to say. And so if she had a little more foresight and had prepared a little bit more, then maybe things would have turned out a little bit better. And so anyway, when she comes across Skull Knight, in a way, she's kind of been given this hired goon. Like her two previous hired goons were pretty useless, and they died, and so now she's been given like the ultimate hired goon, like this massive, powerful, almost indestructible thing. And so she kind of takes that for granted. Like she kind of treats him like shit at first. And I don't want to give away too much in regards to the story in that regard, but that actually proves to be detrimental to her in some very drastic ways. So in a way, she kind of has to learn to respect like Skull Knight as she kind of finds out more about him, because initially she just sees him as just like this big dumb robot, But then, as the story progresses and she kind of finds out more, she realizes that, Skull Knight's story is actually really quite tragic, and this situation that he's in is actually really quite horrible, and so in a way she kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, she kind of learns to empathize with a monster, which is kind of a heady subject, which I think is kind of important for today's age as well. So that's sort of part of this sort of character growth aspect that I want to explore with her, and sort of it come back to this idea of sort of stories as teaching moments as well. Like, I'm sure there's many lady out there who's sort of done things without considering stuff and sort of jumped in gung-ho without realizing, what exactly they're getting into. And maybe, hopefully, they can somehow identify with her and realize that maybe, actions have consequences, and maybe they should sort of stop and think for a minute before they just go ahead and do something just, through sheer knee-jerk reaction. So, yeah.
Character growth can be pretty important when it comes to a story.
Yeah, it's I think it's probably one of the key tenets of a good story, because as I said earlier, like she is, I created her as sort of this archaeologist, so that when it's sort of a jumping on point for readers, and so when she discovers something, the reader will discover something. But that also goes for in regards to when she realizes something about herself, then, in a way that kind of shows the reader that maybe, that's something that maybe there's something going on in their lives, and that's a lesson that they can take away from that. We have a question about my origins.
We got a bunch of questions. Why don't we go through some of them?
Yeah, let's go through some questions.
So just wondering, what soft hardware do you use for drawing?
Oh, yeah. So I use a number of things. So for hardware, I use a Cintiq, but it's like an older model Cintiq, but it still works great, and I love it. I think it's a 21UX. That's what I use for drawing digitally. I use pencil and paper when I'm doing the thumbs, and when I'm inking and coloring, I use two programs. When I'm doing the layout, I use Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, which is a program that I've used for ages now. Like, I love it to death. It's such a great program, just because it's really easy to iterate and iterate and iterate on stuff.
Mm.
And so then I take that stuff from Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, I export it out from there, and I take it into Photoshop where I do all my final paints and inks and colors and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I've never used Toon Boom myself. I hear that a lot of studios are using it now for animation.
Yeah, it's the greatest thing to have come out of Canada in a long time, ever since Mass Effect. But it's really good because the thing is like Toon Boom actually listens to their users, whereas Adobe don't listen to any of their users. They just do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, you gotta listen to the people buying it.
Yeah, but the thing is like they come out with a new version every year, and every year it's always much better than the previous one because they take in a lot of feedback from their users.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and their customer service is amazing. Like you can always get someone pretty quickly. Yeah, like I have only great things to say about Toon Boom. Like I wish they would come out with their own version of Photoshop, but I think they're really just focusing on like animation industry software right now, which fair enough. But I think that if they did like a Photoshop competitor, I think that they'd be killing it. They would really give Adobe a run for their money.
Well, maybe we'll see something like that in the future. Who knows? Right?
Hopefully. Well, I emailed them one time saying that I love their products, and do they have any plans to make something like Toon Boom but for comic books? And they were like, no.
Oh.
Because I was like, this is amazing. Like you can do anything. Like you can do something for that. Because I know there's like Clip Studio Paint, right? Which yeah, which is sort of close to it, but it's like the interface is like insane to navigate. Like I just gave up on it. So
really,
yeah, maybe it was like an older version, and that's why. But yeah,
I really like Clip Studio, but you know.
Yeah, I know some people do, but like I just found it too overwhelming for me. Just so many different things, and maybe if I'd stuck with it, I probably could have learned. I could have gotten used to it, but. I mean, I guess that's the other reason why I like Toon Boom Storyboard Pro, because it's just really intuitive. Like, it's really super easy to learn it. And they've got, like, all these tutorials online just teaching you everything you need to know about it. So, and it's all free. Excuse me. It's all free.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Free tutorials. Because they want you to get maximum use out of the product. So, yeah.
Right.
I better get a free copy of next version of Toon Boom out of this.
Yeah, it's such a praise endorsement. So we got another question by Dawi88. How old is she supposed to be?
Samara's supposed to be like in her 20s. So she's young. She's just starting out.
Just finding out who she's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, she knows that she wants to sort of follow in her parents' footsteps, but like all young people, like she doesn't really fully comprehend like what that means, because obviously her part of the story is like her parents died exploring one of these dungeons as well. So yeah, so it's sort of a realization of sort of exactly what she's kind of getting herself into.
Right. And then we got Ishkra asking, what were they fleeting, Mr. Luke? Desert seems to be a good place to be an archaeologist.
You would think. That's part of the story. Let's just say there were some cultural revolutions going on, and a lot of the artifacts that were uncovered from there were getting destroyed. And part of the reason why they were leaving was to preserve some of that history. So that's the most I'm going to say.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And then Dolby88 comes back in. What artists inspire you, Luke?
You do, Trish.
Oh, shucks.
Dang.
Isn't that such a complicated question to answer?
I know. When I was younger, it was much easier to answer because I only liked a few.
Right.
Murata's a really good one. A whole bunch. Tezuka, Dennis Bodat. Don't you like it when you know who the artist is, but you blank on the name after you get put on the spot?
Yeah, isn't that the worst? You're like, I can see the art, but I can't put a face to it.
A whole bunch. Like there's this one artist. He's actually a friend of mine. His name is Milenko Tunjic. He's an artist from Bosnia, and he lives in Brisbane now. He's been incredibly inspirational to me, and we're still friends. Who else? Yeah, a whole bunch. What's his name? The creator of One Piece, Oda. I forget his first name.
Oh, Ichiro Oda.
Ichiro Oda. Yeah, he's really inspirational.
He's a classic for his very, very cartoony anime style.
Well, he One Piece is just pure fun. It's got nothing to do with like relationships or depression or any shit like that.
Well, no, there's a little bit of depression in there.
I mean, sure, like there's drama, but it's like it's sort of part of the ups and downs of the hero's journey in a way. Like
it's overall very positive. Series.
But I mean, like Luffy's just getting on that boat and he's like, yeah, adventure, woo! And he wants to be the Pirate King, and obviously there's going to be setbacks along the way. Like there's no adventure that, is just clear sailing, 100% of the way through. Like he's going to experience or go through some tough times in his journey to achieve his goals. But overall, yeah, it's just pure fun. It's just pure imagination and excitement and just wacky, crazy stuff just all the time.
Yeah, I always love it when artists and creators aren't afraid to be weird sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's what you need to be a little bit creative, is to not be afraid of trying new things.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially in these day and age. Who was I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the guy who created JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh shit, I do too.
Yeah, but you know who I'm talking about. The guy's a genius.
Yes.
Like he's a pure storyteller. Like what's this question from George Barrett? What is that question?
This question?
Thoughts on Alexander's Peridian Chronicles? What is that?
I'm not quite sure.
Iraqi, I get it. So the JoJo guy is Iraqi. Yeah. I have no idea what you're asking, George. I've never heard of Peridian Chronicles. Maybe that's a test and I failed?
Sounds like an interesting title. I don't know what it is either, though.
Okay. But yeah, Iraqi's a goddamn genius. Like, Stardust Crusaders is obviously the most famous arc of JoJo, and it's the one that kind of everyone knows. It's where most of the memes come from.
Right. Do you have a favorite part?
Yeah, I just said Stardust Crusaders.
Oh, that's your favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like it's just so cool, and just there's these giant guys, but two of them are like school kids. It's just the humor is just hilariously insane.
Yeah, it's crazy how like part 1 of Stardust Crusaders is very different tone from part 2. At part 2, he just like started having fun with it, and that's when it really started getting good.
Yeah. Well, I got to watch the anime. I've only seen clips of it, but like the anime is just insanely good. Like the music is so good. Yeah. Who's this TNNDLL guy? Oh, the New Warriors. No, don't worry about it.
New Warriors. I'm not sure if that's even still coming out.
Yeah, I think it got canceled.
After that huge backlash, they're like, oops, never mind. My bad.
Yeah. So yeah, those are some of the people who inspire me, definitely.
That's nice, man.
Yeah, thanks. You're nice, Trish.
Oh. You see, people always like it in the chat when you start dropping names and references, so That's probably why they asked.
Well, I mean, Tezuka is like, the god of manga. He's the guy who started anime. Like, there would be no anime if it wasn't for Tezuka, right? Like, his stories are just, like, amazing. Like, it's a one-on-one in the perfect way to tell a story. Like, everything he's done has just been fantastic. But yeah, Tezuka and yeah, just a bunch of others. Some I haven't, some I've fallen out of love with. But yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting all reminiscent now. So.
Complicated relationships with people you're fans of.
Yes
like
and
after a
no.
while, they stop being good.
Well, I mean, I guess as you get older, your tastes change. So when I was younger, I liked a lot of, I guess now, crappy stuff. One of the crappiest things I liked was I used to read Savage Dragon like religiously. And then I lost interest, and then I just kind of like check in now and then, and it would just get worse and worse and worse. I was like, ooh. So I don't know why that is. I think part of it is, like tastes change as time progresses, and you get a different perspective on things, and you kind of value things differently. So that's what I think it is. So.
It's very true. Very true. I remember my teenage years. I was super into edgy stuff, and now I'm just kind of like, man, I need to read something happy.
Yeah, right. It's like the specter of death is slowly descending upon you, and you realize it, and then you're like, I gotta take my mind off of this for a second.
Yeah, right. I need some escapism now.
Yeah. What else?
Well, anyway, were you thinking that you wanted to focus more on comics in the future? Or is this something that you're doing as like side projects, personal projects type stuff?
Well, it's all I have time for is personal projects now. Are you alluding to me doing animated projects in the future, Trish? Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, I don't know, man. If you wanted to like do more and more comics and make it new thing.
The thing is, I mean, I don't want to shoot myself in the foot by saying anything, and because I guess I've done a good job in trying to sell Forsaken Gods, and then I don't want to turn around and say, oh, comics, no, I hate doing comics, even though it's not true. I mean, I love telling stories. Comics is good because you can put out a lot more in a shorter amount of time. I do have a huge passion for animation. I would like to do independent animation as well. But having said that, like doing that is way more labor intensive also. So
right, you need your own studio. That's what you need.
Yeah, if I could afford it.
You need to get famous, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm at the age I am now. If I'm still not famous, I don't think I ever will be. But
well, in Japan, they kind of just see manga as like the first step into getting an animated series, and then maybe a movie.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that is part of why I'm doing this. I'm sort of trying to rebuild a sort of an audience as well, and maybe going around to other people's streams and trying to pilfer other people's audience isn't the way to do it, but I can't really think of any other way to do it.
Well, if this goes well and you do gain an audience, then that's like an overall huge win for you, even if you don't make that much money off of it.
What?
Well, you know, 'cause you're extending your possible audience for the next campaign, and then you can make even more, and then that gets extended. You know, like YouTube, I don't make that much money off of YouTube, but I mostly stay here to like massage my audience.
Give them a happy ending.
Yeah, I have a place to promote myself, you know?
I liked that analogy, Trish. That was wonderful. I mean, no, that's true. I mean, look, I understand that dynamic, like using YouTube to sort of like build that audience. The problem is like, for some people that's really good. Like you have that mental energy to do that. For me, my mental energy is somewhat lesser than most people. I feel like most people have like $10 worth of mental energy, and they can like spend $1 here and $1 there. I feel like I've got half that. I feel like I've got like $5 worth of mental energy, partly because I spend most of it trying to draw and sort of make stuff look good, and then the rest is just me trying to learn how to cook and try to keep the place clean, you know, so that ants don't come in and fuck up my shit. So
Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah. I mean, I've tried. I have tried. Anyway, enough of me playing the world's smallest violin. Back Forsaken Gods, guys. It's great.
I mean, I enjoy your drawing live streams.
Thank you. I think you were a guest on one of those.
Yeah, I think so.
So go check it out, guys. Like, subscribe to my channel. Check out that drawing stream. Yeah. So this has been great. 10 out of 10. I love this. Thank you.
It looks like it's going to be a great comic, guys. I would recommend it personally.
I should send you a preview copy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I should do that.
Ooh,
I don't know why I didn't do it beforehand, and I very much apologize.
Yeah, I could actually read it and give a full recommendation. Like, yes,
yeah,
good.
I'll do that. I mean, it's not entirely finished. Like, it's mostly thumbs, but it's all been written. It's all written out. But my thumbs are tight enough where you can tell what's going on. So I should definitely send you that PDF.
Right. I do the same thing with all my comics. I sketch them out really, really quick, and nobody else can really tell what they look like.
Sure, because it's just notes for yourself. But
right. It's like little mental sketches. You can just kind of see where the lines curve.
But I have, just because I've done storyboarding for so long, it's like, or at least I'd like to think my thumbs are pretty tight. Like, they're pretty easy to follow. So I know a lot of my directors that I've used to work with have said that. So I love, like, doing comics is great because it's like you're almost sort of going into your own little world and just having fun and just doing whatever it is you want to do. And that's, you don't really need collaborators if you're a one-man band like I am. Like, it's like your thing. It's like coming straight from you. Animation, not so much, because obviously you need more collaborators, and
that's a lot of work to do on your own.
Yeah. So I think comics for me is probably going to be a good starting point as I sort of get into this realm of crowdfunding. Whether or not your viewers and any potential new backers agree with that is up to them. So vote with your dollar.
Mandatory carry saying #keep
fighting. Thank you. Do I get those $2, Trish? You can keep the $2. It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I must admit myself, I've always had significantly more of a passion for animation than I do with comics.
Trish, well, I guess you can say that after you've fulfilled your campaign. So. All right.
But it's like kind of a similar idea that I have to, Japan, where it's like, yeah, I kind of see this as a step forward.
Everyone references Japan. It's like the new utopia. But even Japan has its problems, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially like how they pay their manga creators and animators.
Although I don't even think their manga creators they don't even have social lives because they're always trying to get stuff out every week, right? For Shonen Jump and shit.
Yeah, and they also have a lot of assistants helping them like ink up the pages, and I hear that the assistants usually don't get paid.
Yeah. No, yeah. They got problems, man. They got problems. Like, if any creative industries need a union, it's definitely in Japan, but they're also well mannered that they don't want to rock the boat, so they won't do anything. So.
Right. But like, if I had my own studio, I'd be making animated stuff. And I do have like some plans for animated stuff on my channel, but there's a limit to what you can do on YouTube these days because YouTube's not very nice. It's like they're flagging animated projects for being made for kids, and then you can't make any money off of it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely that's a huge problem.
It's a huge problem. Yeah.
They really clamp down on animators They're always the first on the chopping block on YouTube. It's insane.
Yeah, and people love animation.
Like
they go crazy over that shit, and then they just get knocked off because it's made for kids. No one
Well,
else can enjoy this.
well, what was it a while ago? That guy Ross from Game Grumps. What's his name? Ross something.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so Ross is an Aussie guy as well, and he's an animator.
Mhm.
And back when they changed the algorithm to, I think you had, in order for your video to be considered for monetization, it had to be over 10 minutes. Like Ross actually made a video about that, saying this really impacts animators because doing 10 minutes of animation is way different than doing, say, 10 minutes of live action because,
Oh yeah.
yeah, for obvious reasons. So yeah, so YouTube's been clamping down on animation for ages, and now we got Copper, which is just. I think the last thing I heard that Copper was doing was that they flagged Has-Been Hotel as something for kids.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. That's awful.
It's like, yeah, it's like a transvestite spider who does, cocaine is for kids, guys. Like, come on. Transvestite prostitute spider that does cocaine.
It only goes to show like how biased they are with cartoons. They're just like, oh, cartoon equals kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, I find that really interesting. It's like 2020, and they still think that everything is like the 1960s or some shit. It's crazy. We really do live in the darkest timeline now. So.
This has not been the best year for anyone, I bet.
Oh yeah, it's been terrible for everyone. It's like, yeah, I know I'm complaining, but I'm sure like there's a lot of people that got it way worse right now. So.
Well, I hear it's actually not too bad of a time for crowdfunders because people are going there to get their entertainment since comic book shops are closed.
Well, yes, clearly, as we are at 46% funded on Forsaken Gods, and we got 51 days left to go, so maybe there is some validity to what you're saying, Trish.
Perhaps. I did get my campaign funded. So.
Yeah, and it exceeded it, so I'm gonna do the joke. I'm gonna do it. So if the stretch goal is gonna be at 5,000, if we hit 5,000, I'm gonna put tits on Skull Knights. There you go. Big metal tits.
Go, guys. At $5,000, you can have some skull tits.
Skull tits. It'll just be these two skulls just taped to his chest. I'll be screaming.
You can make the female version of Skull Knight. You know how everyone does the gender bend fan art, which is kind of creepy sometimes.
It can be.
Now, you ever see like gender bent Sonic? That like gave me nightmares.
I don't think I have. Isn't that just Amy but blue? Or did they like give him like cleavage or something? Look, I'm not like that's a rabbit hole I'm not going to go down just because.
Yeah, it basically looks like Sonic with like cleavage and eyelashes, and it makes me very uncomfortable.
Okay, so it's like Rouge the Bat almost.
Yeah, sort of.
Sonic fans are like so thirsty, man. Like, what is it about cartoon, anthropomorphic, tiny cartoon animals that makes them want to do that? That's so weird.
I guess it's like part of how furries grow up is they like see those shows and they realize right away, ooh, I like that, you know?
And so as they hit puberty, they're like, I don't know, it's some kind of crossing of the wires and they go like, ooh, I like that. And I want to try and, now that I've got all these hormones and I want to have sex, or at least I'm in love with the romantic idea of sex, even though actual sex is kind of messy. I therefore want to try and bring sex into this thing that I like. Is that?
I guess so.
I'm not a psychologist. I'm just talking out of my ass. But
one of the things that made me like kind of uncomfortable looking back at like the original Sonic cartoon is the fact that they had the one character, Sally, who just is straight up shirtless and she has like fur cleavage.
So you mean Sally Acorn?
Yes.
No, I read the comics, I watched the books, and she almost looks naked.
Yeah, she has like curvature, but it's like all fur, and it's like weird.
Yeah, because she's just wearing a vest, right? A vest and boots.
Right, it's just an open vest, and I can definitely see why they decided to put shirts on all of the women after that.
See, I think, yeah, it's so weird, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
like normally they'll give him a dress, right? And that kind of covers everything, and so it kind of works. But then
Right.
you got like Rouge, who's got like a full-on bodysuit. Oh yeah, so weird. But the
It's
guys are
happened
just walking
before
around butt
either
naked.
of them, so that's probably why.
Huh.
That's how I figured anyway.
But like Tails and Sonic walk around butt naked, just wearing gloves and boots.
Yeah, right, right.
What's going on? What is going on there? Like, shouldn't they be wearing pants at least? Like, come on, guys. Like, what the fuck?
I guess
Anyway,
they figured, well, these guys don't have any curvature, so
yeah.
it's okay.
Anyway, yeah. But yeah, it was always that Sonic cartoon was always odd because then you had Bunny Rabbit, right? Who was like half cyborg rabbit.
Yeah. I thought that
But
was kind of interesting that they had cyborg animals too.
yeah, dang, it was crazy. Damn, that was like the '90s as well, wasn't that? When was that?
Oh yeah, it was 90s.
Yeah, the '90s were nuts. Not as nuts as right now. Like we're gonna look back on this year and go, that was the craziest year in the history of all years.
Yeah.
But yeah, like maybe just because once again we're older now, and we have perspective, and we're looking back on it, and we're like, whoa, what was up with that? I guess everyone does that. Oh well.
Yeah, yeah. I find myself constantly looking back and finding shows that I didn't watch as a kid and realizing how good they were.
Yep. Yep.
It's a lot easier than finding new shows, as it turns out.
Well, I hear Mau Mau is kind of all right. So
Mau Mau?
you haven't heard of Mau Mau?
No.
Yeah, dude, check it out.
Mau Mau.
MAO. And you do that twice.
Yeah. Yeah. What's that about?
So it's like this comedy kind of thing. It's like this. Yeah, it's you just gotta watch it. It's just crazy. It's like it's this black cat called Mau Mau, and he's like the sheriff of this kingdom, and he's got like a red cape and a sword and shit. And he's got like two buddies that help him out.
Oh, I think I have seen that.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I've seen like little clips of it floating around every now and then.
Yeah, people say, people in the chat, they're saying it's all right.
Didn't they have that one episode where they like made fun of Steven Universe or something?
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is like they actually do have like funny jokes, and it actually is entertaining. So props to them. Like there is one candle in the dark. So yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I got to work on that show. But whatever. All right. Cool.
So, guys, Forsaken Gods, link is below in the description. Also, Fresher Luke's Twitter link if you want to follow him. Should I put your YouTube link in there too?
Yeah, and also, if you guys are interested, there is a petition on change.org for dungeon crawlers. Just go to change.org and type in Dungeon Crawlers Nickelodeon, and if you want, you can sign that petition and let Nickelodeon know that it was wrong of them to cancel Dungeon Crawlers and that they're big poopy heads. So
yeah, you got to get Luke's show back, man.
Yeah, yeah. Through the power of crowds, we will get the show back. Or maybe not. Who knows? But at least it'd be nice to sort of have a bunch of signatures there and sort of rub it in Nickelodeon's faces and tell them "fuck you." But yeah, so just that.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, they were wrong. They were wrong to cancel me and that show. So if you could do that, that'd be great. You'd be my new personal heroes if you could do that. So
awesome, man. I would like to see that show come back. Very curious about it.
Well, I mean, it was only a short. It was never really a show. So
yeah, but it had the potential. All the potential was there.
Yeah, I thank you. I would like to think so as well. So
yeah.
All right. Cool. Right. Thank you, Trish.
We'll be ending the stream for now. So thank you all for joining in on us chatting it up, and thank you, Fresher Luke, for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate this and helping me to promote my campaign. And congrats to you on your campaign for reaching 13K. That's really awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely deserve it. And yeah, guys, support independent creators if you want to see cool stuff, because we can't do this on the smell of an oily rag. We need help. We need funds to get things off the ground. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you want to know like something cool out there and something different that you can get, you definitely have to look for these independent creators, guys.
Yep, definitely.
All right, I guess I shall end the stream. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time.
Flat Earth is real.